everyone. Welcome to the Golf Podcast Live. I'm your host, Raphael Calamat. As always, beside Michael Bleakley, who's in Vancouver, I'm in Toronto, and this show is brought to you by ECS, Evolve Creative Solutions. Lots to talk about today. We've got a very special guest. His name is Tucker Booth. We're going to be talking not only golf, but we're going to talk about entertainment. So this is going to be a special one. Tucker, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, my cat wants to say hi too. She's
There he is.
Yeah, no, I'm doing good, guys. I hope to put the special and very special guest for you guys today. So I'm here for the cause. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to this one. You are the first musician we've had on the show, and obviously you do a lot more than that. So we look forward to unpacking this.
So this
Plenty
is
to unpack.
Tucker, this is how I came across who you were. I'm on Twitter. I kept on seeing your posts within the golfing community. So here I am looking at who's this guy at Tucker Dale Booth on Twitter. And I could see that we had a lot of the same acquaintances or friends and people that we knew, whether it was Whit Watson, Michael Whalen, Bob Harrick, Daniel Tucker, Jason Sobel, just to mention a few. And so those are people that we talk to on a regular basis. We've got a golfing background. Mike and I have known each other for many years. Tell us how you got involved in the world of golf and let our audience know a little bit about you. So tell us who you are, what you do, and how you're involved with golf.
Well, it's funny. Whenever people ask me, what do you do? I always say, how long have you got? But I'll give you the shorter answer. I call myself a professional entertainer, and that is the umbrella term. But I am a professional singer, professional guitarist, professional pianist. I have been an actor, both on television as face guy and as a voice actor. I'm a writer who's just now completing my own book that I wrote over the shutdown, and now co-writing a book with Lisa Cornwell, formerly of Golf Channel, helping her with her memoir. And that book deal just went through, so yay.
Nice.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So lots going on. How did I get into golf, though, was the other part of that question. When I was a kid, my dad asked if I wanted to take golf lessons because we lived next to a golf course in Eastmoreland in Portland, Oregon area. And I said, Dad, why would I want to play that fat old man sport? He kind of slumps and walks off. And then I got to be a fatter, older man, and suddenly I became more fascinated with golf. And my dad was sitting there going, don't you wish you would have started when you were a kid? And I go, yes. So I'm not a very good golfer. I got into it like a lot of people did when Tiger Woods was at the height of his popularity, when he's dominating. Like most fans of Tiger, I became obsessed, not just with him, but golf in general, and suddenly wanted to swing a club. But I also realized that I'm probably the worst kind of golfer, guys, because as you might, sense, I'm in my head 24/7, and it's really hard to get out. So I battle my what's between my ears pretty much the entire time I'm doing these rounds of golf. However, it got me to all these golf folks. And again, maybe that is my background in entertainment, but I started meeting these folks, and then I was seeking them out on Twitter and offering to have them come on my podcast. And one by one, all these people kind of led to the next. It started with my friend Rick Riley, who is a neighbor who lives in Hermosa, and he had hired me as a musician, and then we'd hit it off. Then it was Peter Kessler, and that was the one that really put me on the map. Was I had interviewed Peter Kessler and then caught him in some lies, and he went to war with me. He went to war with me on Twitter and everywhere else. So I wrote this article called Breaking Bad with Peter Kessler, and that's how I met Mike Whalen, so on and so forth. So it all kind of built on itself. I know you guys have mentioned Mike Whalen. Shout out, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hope you're doing better.
That was a big one. He's doing all right. Right now he's scheduled for biopsy, and it looks like it's not great. So
Okay.
prayers up for Mike. But he opened a lot of doors for me, and he put his neck out there for me. He still does. And God, he texted me yesterday saying he's been in touch with Jim Carrey, who's an old friend of his. And Jim's going to come and visit him and be with them. And he's trying to get Jim to come on the podcast and all this stuff. I mean, what a guy to keep his neck out for me that way. So shout out to Mike.
That's pretty amazing. We talk a lot about Peter Kessler because, obviously we're fans of the Golf Channel, and I loved it back in the day. Peter just had this calming voice, and everyone wonders where the fuck is Peter gone. Even he's a ghost online. His Twitter account's been deactivated. Everything's gone. I'd love to dive into that with you, since
Sure.
you know a bit about it. Like, do you know what he's doing now? Are we ever going to see him come back into the realm of golf, or give us some insight on that?
Well, first of all, Pete, if you're listening, which you're probably not, but if you are, love you, bud. Always have. Never really wanted to go to war with you. As far as how he's doing, I don't know if he's doing that great. And I, again, don't say that to talk smack, but Pete's surely battling mental issues, and was throughout his time at Golf Channel. It just got more exacerbated as he got older and fell out of favor with people. I think right now he's wealthy, and his family's super wealthy, and so he's okay financially, but mentally, I don't think he's having his best years right now. We still do stay in vague contact. I reach out to him every 3 or 4 months and invite him to come back on the pod. I said, I know everybody would love to have you and me do our airing of grievances podcast and just let it fly. And he's kind of flirted with me a couple times. One time he got upset because I had Shipnuck on, and Shipnuck had written a piece about him that had frosted him, and how dare you consort with the enemy and all this. But I mean, the bottom line is, like with Mike Whalen's piece, these are guys that are dealing with some pretty serious mental stuff. And so my hope for Pete is just that he gets better and, finds peace and whatnot.
Well, like I said earlier, I was fascinated with the fact that you had a hashtag called Rappers Don't Golf. That really catches people's attention. It's a little bit different. This is our 31st episode, and we're always looking for unique guests. And we thought, we'll reach out to you and see what we could talk about. It's interesting that I saw something online about you running for president. Is that you? and then there's all these battle raps. Maybe you could unpack those two things for us a little bit.
Sure. Okay. So, like I said, I've been in the music world my entire life. Was a child star in my community. Learned how to sing and dance at too young to even remember. So I got into singing in bands when I was in high school. And when you're jamming in a rock band, everybody gets a solo, and then the singer, what does he do, right? So I'd start freestyling. And what started out as just freestyle singing, trying to put together stuff, it turned into freestyle rap. And I'd already taken improv classes and done acting and stuff. So the obsession with freestyle rap for me started early. That was also in the 90s. I'm 40, so that was that golden era of rap and hip hop that a lot of us still pine for. I just started digesting all of it, and like every other wannabe white rapper, tried to mimic it for a while until I realized my own voice, my own sense of humor, and my own style was probably my best bet. So how did I get to rap battling? Well, as a grown-up living in St. Louis, that was at kind of the zenith of its popularity, doing these freestyle rap battles with DJs. And Eminem had kind of made it mainstream, and 8 Mile had made people kind of understand it in the white world too. And so a lot of us white boys were popping up at these battles, and all of them were getting mowed down except for me. I was like the one guy that managed to take more scalps than anybody. As I got older, it went from just being kind of a folk legend to actually a second act, where I came back to St. Louis once I'd moved to LA and three-peated at their biggest rap battle of the year. It's called Slumfest, St. Louis Underground Music Festival. So as the 3-time champ in a row, I will go down in history as the greatest battle rapper and underground battle rapper in St. Louis, pretty much. And I have no fear saying I'm one of the top 10 dead or alive to ever come out of St. Louis. So I guess how to get all the way to Rappers Don't Golf? Well, all these hip hop guys were battling me online because they started seeing me share swing playing videos and Tiger clips and whatever, just because I was into it. And one of them goes, "Hey man, what the fuck's all this golf shit about? Rappers don't golf, man. You just clown. Rappers don't golf." And it's funny, the troll was the one that gave me the title.
Nice.
And I went, Rappers don't golf. I like it.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
That's where it came from.
Yeah, very cool. As you know, like I'm a DJ. I've grown up playing hip hop and house music, and so to my right here, there's records going back into the '80s. I've got all that hip hop through that era, so I can appreciate what goes into a battle. You have to your verbiage, your knowledge of the English language has to be deep, and to come up with that freestyle is extremely impressive, because I know I could never do it, but I can appreciate what you go through in the battle. It's almost like a fight. I watched a couple of them, and you're you almost look like you're ready to square off in a boxing match, which is pretty fun. And obviously, you're amicable with these opponents, and it's part of it's part of the shtick. Is you'd insult each other until one of you drops. So, is there one that stands out in your history? Is there any rappers that that really the battle stands out? And is there one that you'd like to do over again?
Sure. To the first question about, I mean, there's quite a few that stand out, but what comes quickly to mind, two of them. One is the greatest other battle rapper in St. Louis of my era is a guy named Tef Poe. Tef is so well known that he worked with the Obama administration for a while. He's taught at Harvard. He's truly one of the great Black activists of St. Louis and has done a lot, not just during all the riots with Ferguson and whatnot, but has continued this organization called Black Men Build, where he is literally on the street getting guys, helping them become better men. Tef was my hardest opponent. He was always the one that scared us the most and that we always had to feel the most prepared for. But I also scared him the most, and he told me so. He said, "You're the one that freaks me out." He goes, I can get in everybody else's head. You're crazy, man. He goes, "I don't know what you're ever going to come with. And I know that you're doing this on purpose to me, that you're keeping me off balance." So we had some great battles, man. The one that comes to mind, though, was one where I got robbed, but it was him and I, 6 rounds too close to call in the semifinals. Wow. 6 rounds. And the reason why it was too close to call is because I kept getting the better of him in rounds 2, 3, and 4, and their promoter friends wanted him to move on. However, the moral victory was after finally dispatching with me, he had to battle my best friend who was on the other side of the bracket, and he was out of gas. So I lost the battle, but we won the war that night. So that comes to mind as one where I didn't win the battle, but everybody knew I beat him, and we still got to celebrate, and that was my friend's first win as well. So that was exciting.
Well, Tucker, that's pretty cool. That's pretty outstanding. It's really different than what we're used to. Mike and I are both 48 years old, so we grew up listening to Public Enemy. I got a few things written down here: Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, Slick Rick, Ice-T, MC Light. Mike, do you remember these? Eric B. and Rakim.
Got it, Scarface, Gangstar,
Boogie Down Productions.
There's
like some of my absolute faves, man.
So even the softer stuff like De La Soul and Biz Markie, even going commercial to MC Hammer, right? So all of that stuff is sort of our time between like 85 to on, I guess from 85 on. Then we, Mike and I met because we were DJs and we met in the club business. We ended up really clicking through golf and through our music. So that's really interesting. But I want to go full circle right back to golf a little bit. So you're writing 2 books. So one of which is with Lisa Cornwell, who was a golf analyst, host, and has worked in the business for quite a few years. Tell us a little bit about that. And the other book?
Sure. Okay, well, we'll start with Mike Whalen again. Lisa Cornwell found me because I had Jerry Foltz and Karen Stupples as guests on my pod, and those are close friends of hers from her time working there. So she had recognized me through that. Then she looked me up online and found Mike Whalen's story, which is called "I Built a Masterpiece and Then I Fell Apart," the Michael J. Whalen story, if you guys are wanting to search it online. She read this and she said by the time she got through about a chapter of it, she was so excited because she knew I was going to be her guest writer for this book. And she came to me saying, "I don't want you to ghostwrite. I want you to have your name on this. I want to help put you on the map in a bigger way." So I owe Lisa a debt of gratitude for all that, the same way I owe Mike a debt of gratitude for all of his help. But what's it about? It's a memoir. She's had an amazing life. I don't know if you guys knew she was a 3-time amateur state champ in Arkansas as a girl. She got as high as number 2 in the world for girls. Was surely expected to be a golf prodigy and a major champion and whatnot, but she lost her love for golf in college and likens it to a divorce. She left it entirely, even on a scholarship and everything. And she kind of spent years in the wilderness trying to figure out who she really was and what she was going to do. And she decided after about 5 years of kind of just, putzing around that she wanted to get into broadcasting and she wanted to be on that side of sports. And she didn't set out to get the Golf Channel, but it ended up being this dream job opportunity for her after grinding through, the minor leagues, doing all this other stuff. But what started as a dream job by her own admission turned into a nightmare by the end. And a lot of it she attributes to her boldly speaking up, especially against men in positions of power there that were doing things that weren't right. And she was like one person brave enough to speak up and try and hold people accountable for their behavior. And she said that got her branded as a troublemaker, which is the name of the book. And
interesting.
And it led to retaliatory behavior from Golf Channel. I can't get into all the specifics right now.
She's quite vocal on Twitter about women's rights and human rights. I've seen some of her posts.
Yeah, and and to her credit, this book is not to make money. If anything, she's made it very clear that she doesn't care about money. She cares about getting the message out, and the message isn't just putting these individuals on blast, but it's trying to rally women and men, but women especially, folks in the LGBTQ community, etc., to stand up when they see stuff happen in the workplace and outside, but to make the good kind of trouble, if you will. Like John Lewis, I think, said that a long time ago, that you want to make the good kind of trouble if you're doing civil rights activism. And I do believe that's her intent. And I cannot speak more highly of her character. She's just really true blue person, and someone I'm proud to call a dear friend, as is her wife, Sarah Kemp. Just amazing people, really special people.
Very cool. When is the release date, or you got there yet?
Well, we know what we're shooting at. Basically, we got to get this thing done in 5 months. And granted, we've already spent a year and change doing all the interviewing and writing a long proposal. And so we've got the content. But we're trying to have this out by International Women's Month next year.
Okay.
I believe is March or April. Don't quote me on that, but one of those months.
Okay.
All right. Well, listen, if you're just tuning in, we're talking to Tucker Booth, and we're talking all things entertainment. We're talking about the 2 books he's coming out with. It was a pretty interesting weekend. I don't know how much golf you watch, but Mike and I are...
I watched Ron in the Mexico Open.
Outstanding. So one of the coolest trophies in golf, just to flash back on the Korn Ferry Tour, we had Harrison Endicott with the Rocket NASA trophy. I don't know if you've seen that thing. It's probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And then when we got Marina Alex getting her second LPGA Tour victory, she's come from a lot of diversity and issues in her life that she's had to overcome. One of the things that we might be talking about in the future, but it's congratulations to her and what she's accomplished. Stephen Alker with his 3rd win on the Champions Tour. Pretty incredible story. He's the guy who made it through the qualifier, finished in the top 10, gave him the opportunity to play another event, and now he's made $2 million over the last year on the Champions Tour. Pretty incredible story, considering for the last 25 years before that, that's how much money he's made in total, $2 million since 1995. So it's a great story to see people like that. We had Rob Labritz on, who's a medalist qualifier, who got on tour, who's not a legend of the game, who hasn't devoted his game to that. So congratulations to Stephen Alker, and to circle back to the guy who last won the U.S. Open, now finally gets his first win in 2022, Jon Rahm. Again, I think he's become the favorite, or one of the favorites, for the PGA Championship in Southern Hills in Tulsa. And a solid 2 by Tony Finau. You had Kitayama finishing 2nd as well. So did you see any of that?
I did. I watched pretty much the whole weekend's worth of coverage of Mexico, and I watched the final putts drop and whatnot. I like Rahm a lot. I was there at the U.S. Open at Torrey last year.
Nice.
Shout out Jason Gore. Shout out to Jason Gore for getting me in. Appreciate you, bud.
Right on.
I got to, I was there. I didn't see Rahm's final putt drop, but we sure heard it when we were behind him. I like most people think on any given week, he should be the favorite in these events he's in. God, I saw some stat that he's finished in the top 10 of 49% of his starts or something.
Yeah, wow. There's another stat where he's making on average $247,000 a tournament.
I mean, but somehow, even with that major monkey off his back, I still don't trust him in majors that much. And I feel like it's still the fiery temper and the pissiness and all that. Like, again, I know this because I struggle with it myself, but it takes one to know one. And I feel like when you run that hot, where you can just completely lose your shit, then you're not the favorite in my opinion. And that's why a guy like Scheffler looks like he could just be a sure thing for however many years to come, because he just seems so calm in the mind. He seems stoic and so together all the time. And granted, maybe he's not. And I had Ted Scott on recently and pretty much asked him that question: is he as chill as he comes off? And he said yes. He said he's genuinely happy, funny guy, and just doesn't take himself that seriously. And that's pretty special quality, and I think should make him the favorite.
Yeah, I think, the ability to stay calm in golf, no matter what happens, is a true virtue. And I can definitely relate to a player like Rahm, who runs a bit hot, because I know I do, and anyone who's golfed with me, especially when I was in my 20s, has seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Better at it now, but still, even my best rounds, it's a fine balance of, fighting off a little bit of adrenaline and anger, and, but being able to let it go before the next shot is key. And I can appreciate that with Rahm, and I like to see a player battle that. And I think you have a good point there in the majors. That could be a deterrent to winning. But we still pick him. I picked him to win the Masters. Didn't pay off this year, but he might get it one of these days.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, no,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, I remember we just spoke to Jared Dutois, who's a Canadian golfer, and he managed to qualify for Torrey Pines this year at the Farmers Insurance Open, and he was roommates with Jon Rahm, and he told us a few stories. If you want to head back to one of our podcasts, some really interesting stuff from him. I just wanted to go back and talk about the entertainment part of your life, because it's thoroughly interesting. I don't know if you caught this weekend, but it was Tiger Jam in Las Vegas. And it was also the big get-together for the NFL. So we had a lot of people in town, and we saw that viral video go out there of Tiger letting loose with Phil Hellmuth, who's 16-time world poker champion, and he seemed to be taking it easy, joking around. Looks like he had a drink or two. I don't know if it caught him off guard. He thought maybe he was going to get a selfie taken with Phil, but it was really refreshing to see, because in the last 25 years, I've never seen a video like that. And that's why I had to repost it over on our Twitter account. Did you get a chance to see that?
I did see a little bit of that footage, and anytime that Tiger can make himself look more human and less like the cyborg robot we all think he is, the better. I've already acknowledged I'm a huge fan, so I say any of this with utmost love for the guy anyway. But I feel like there's still substance abuse issues there, and I've been pretty outspoken about it. Again, I've dug on Tiger pretty deep. I think that last car wreck was the result of some form of DUI, and I believe it has to do with Ambien, which is something he's had issues with forever because he's an insomniac. Obviously, he's in a lot of pain for all the reasons he's in a lot of pain. And I think, he has an addictive personality that's been well documented, that he's not just addicted to, substances and women or whatnot, but they're, exercise. He's injured himself by exercising too much and inappropriately and whatnot. So I feel like Tiger is at a point now where I think he's finally realizing that he needs to be more vulnerable, and he needs to be more open, and he needs to let other people in, and he can't just be this lone gun anymore, or else he's probably not going to be around much longer. And, as a dad myself, and as somebody that's battled substance abuse issues in my life as well, you got to do it for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do it for yourself, you got to try doing it for your kids. And I feel like that's what I'm really hoping for him, is that he can get a grip so that he can have a decent life and see his kids grow up.
Yeah, I agree with you on all of that. And I had the same thoughts about that car accident. It's like, how do you crash driving by yourself in the morning? The way he did, and it's either he fell asleep at the wheel or he was still intoxicated. My guess, he was up, partying after the night at Riviera, and had to get up and rush to an outing. and bang, that's as quick as it happened. So my fear was that they were going to find something in the car, and then his whole life was going to, blow up in a different direction, and the media would have been all over that, like a fat kid and a smarty. But yeah, I mean, the best way to do is just to be honest and admit you have, problems and get past it. And it just makes me think of back in his career when he was doing Navy SEAL training,
Right.
and he was addicted to working out, obviously, and was facing that path. And he ruined his body, by over working out, if you will. He caused a lot of the pain, a lot of these knee problems and everything that he has. He'd run miles before every
Combat
round of golf.
boots. Right.
Oh, 100%. Right. Didn't he do Hell Week? Did
Yeah.
he try to do Hell Week?
Yes.
Right. So that's crazy. Unless you're going out to war, you just took it too far. When you're trying to be he was the best golfer in the world for decades. But our bodies are fragile as they are.
Now, Mike, you're cutting out.
Yeah.
Are you there, Mike? I can't hear you.
I've got a lag on Zoom, and my microphone's cutting over to something else. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll jump in on that Tiger point, though. I think it's pretty well documented that he still hasn't gotten over the passing of his father.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stuff that he did to himself was kind of compensating in his dad's eyes, I think, after he passed on. The Navy SEAL stuff, was him trying to kind of live vicariously through his father's, legend of being this great battler for real, and, war hero and whatnot. But, yeah, I think there's a lot psychologically to unpack with him. And it's probably what fascinates us so much about the GOAT is that he's maybe the GOAT of golf, but he's surely not the GOAT of being a decent human being, like a lot of us aren't. So it's this kind of push and pull with Tiger about which Tiger are we going to see today, And to your point about the crash, though, it did come out, and I stayed all over the sheriff's, official this and that, because our sheriff's department out here in LA is a mess. So no respect for Sheriff Villanueva or his predecessor, Leroy Baca. These are not good people. Baca's sitting in a jail cell right now for all the crimes he committed as our sheriff. Wow. So when I saw Villanueva getting funky with the stuff coming out, basically they acted like they didn't know it either. And we're taxpayers who literally drive and commute on that road to work. And I know where he is. I've stayed at Terranea and played golf there. Bottom line is we did deserve some kind of answer. And all we got was like one little sluice out about an unmarked pill bottle or something. And that's all he'd give us on that. But that was enough. Of course, you mentioned partying. All you got to do is watch the footage of him on that interview the day before at Genesis, looking more baked than a Perkins peach pie, man.
It was day and night compared to the following year and how it looks like he's changed his life. He seems to be more open. He talks about his kids. He's really warms up to the interviews. He spends time not only with players, but with the sponsors and the fans. So I think it's taken a turn. It's taken a lot in his life for him to get to this point. Right. You and I, Tucker and Mike, will never understand what it feels like to be at Tiger Woods. To be in a place where you can't go anywhere without being recognized, being in a bubble your whole life, and being groomed to be the number one golfer in the world is quite unique. And I'm not making excuses for him. I'm a father as well. I've got a 15-year-old. Everybody's had their issues, be it mental or drug issues or skeletons in the closet or family issues. We all battle something in some shape or form. And that's it's unfortunate where we should be there for each other. But I think he's been under a microscope for a very long time. And it's easy for us to give an analysis of what we think. However, it's tough to understand where he's coming from and what he's doing. It seems through the foundation, and he's found a real good cause. His kids are growing up, and he's trying to make a great example of himself as well. So yeah, Tiger's a very special case. We talk about Tiger so often. I tell Mike every time I think we lost him, I'll get him back on here. let's not talk about Tiger this week, but it's hard to avoid one of the greatest players of the game, if not the GOAT, right? People call him the GOAT.
I think he's the GOAT. I mean, I know people can take up for Nicholas or whoever else, but I mean, I think Tiger in his prime beats Jack in his. That's the way I look at it.
No, I agree. Hey, tell us what you're doing these days. Besides the podcast, how can we get in touch with you? And what are you working on?
Well, I didn't get around to my other book, so let me get a quick plug in for that. It's finished. It took me 2 years, and I've had a lot of great editing help along the way, but it's done, and it will be released on my birthday, which is June 1st of this year. It's a birthday gift to myself. I'm putting it out independently through Kindle and Amazon, but if you'd like to find out more about it or pre-order or whatnot, I already have it available in PDF form. And you can hit me up, tuckerbooth@hotmail.com. Still got my Hotmail, same one I've had ever since 1990 never. But yeah, you can hit me up, tuckerbooth@hotmail. Rappers Don't Golf is ongoing. We're trying to put out a couple episodes every couple of weeks. Right now we're on a brief hiatus, but lots of great content recently. Like I said, we had Ted Scott. You mentioned Bob Herrig. With Watson, it's just been a revolving door of awesome people coming on.
You've also had Daniel Tucker, Jason Sobel, Keith Stewart, Brett Bernasel. Yeah,
Brett Bernheisel. Yeah, Bernie and Dalby talking golf. A lot of awesome people, man, and a great network. You can find all the podcast stuff right now on Spotify. You type in Rappers Don't Golf with Tucker Booth. It's all over Spotify, and we are working on getting it on Anchor. I got a lot of friends that want it on Apple. They've been haranguing me. Hold tight, you guys. By the middle of May, we're going to be on Anchor, and it'll be on everything. But until then, you can check it out on my Twitter page, Tucker Dale Booth. I always put up all the links, or you can go to Spotify and find it there. But yeah, my book is called Quick Trip. Right. It's a 25-year braided memoir of my life through all these crazy road trips that I've been on, running from and to things. And it deals with my own mortality. It deals with crisis of faith issues. It's a real fun book. But no, it's kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly from my life. It goes right up through the COVID shutdown and how crazy everybody was during all that. But I'm really proud of it. And it's got enough trigger bait to drive you all nuts. So go grab a copy and get pissed, please.
That's great. And what about future guests? Is there anybody in the horizon that you really want to interview or would like to get in touch with? Because we all want to do podcasts with people we're interested in or kind of lure us in some shape or form. It's not, sometimes just getting a guest is it's not all it's out to be, right?
Right.
But those are the ones that surprise me, actually. Sometimes we have a guest on and I'm not really sure on how it's going to go, and then it goes great and we learn a lot about that person or their environment or something that's going on in the world. Any guests that you're looking out to get?
Well, it's funny. There's like ones that I'm never going to give up on. And I've seen it work at times where like after 6, 7, 8 times of going back to them, they finally say yes, and they admire the persistence, right? The one that I've been trying to get back is Scott Walker, who also used to work at Golf Channel and ESPN. I had Scott on, and Scott, bless you, you gave a great interview, and I screwed it up. It was one of those ones where the recording I accidentally turned it off in the middle. We lost like the significant chunk of the interview, and he got too busy to come back. I just texted with him the other day. We're finally going to get it done in the next month or two. So I'm looking forward to take 2 with Scott.
You're not the only one. It's happened to me as well. I had Mark Zucchino on my first episode. It was sort of a beta version of what we're trying to do. And everything was cutting out, the audio, the video. I had a new software program. I had my son in the video trying to set things up for me. So he's with PGA Tour Radio, and he's one of the major hosts for TSN, which is sort of the equivalent of ESPN out in the United States.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, no, I mean, the other guests, though, that I'd love to have on are just people from different worlds. It's kind of become known as the golf show, but you'll see, it's not the only people I have on. I love having comedians. I had J.L. Coban, the great Trump impressionist, on there.
Okay.
A Yeah, I've got to say, if you don't know JL Cauvin, 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 boy, look him up. That is by far the funniest Trump impression and the most spot on I've ever seen. Um, we've had other actors, writers. I had my veteran friend on the other day who just wrote a book about Vietnam. I'm all over the place. So I guess the answer is whoever's next. I think I told you at the beginning, Mike's trying to put me in touch with Jim Carrey. That'd be awesome.
That would
I
be
would love to
great.
do it up with Jim for
Hey,
90 minutes.
we could get water under the bridge and get a great podcast with the four of us and get Peter Kessler on. Or get Mike and Peter on together.
Oh.
That'd be something else. It'd be a five-way. I just keep my headphones on, volume to a minimum, and let these guys go at it.
I was going to say, I don't know if any of us would get to speak at all. That would be way too much oxygen leaving the room with those guys. Oh no.
Yeah. We had a great time having Craig Can on, and he had some Tiger comments. This was just before the Masters, and I was predicting that Tiger's going to play, and he said there is no way that he will play, and he made it. He put it so much in my face that he said, you could actually take this recording and get it out there and run me over backwards with a bus with what I'm saying right now, but he's not playing. So what we did, I made the clip, the 30-second clip. It went viral. We got 10,000 hits in less than an hour with him just going at it. But he's a great guy. He's doing a lot of stuff. I don't know if you've heard of Craig Can. He's a motivator.
I've had Craig on the pod.
Oh, there you go. Great motivational speaker.
I'm actually going to be on Craig's pod in a few weeks, repping the book. So
awesome.
Looking forward to being on there with Craig. Another good guy, man. There's a lot of good people in this golf world, and specifically the broadcaster world, because I think I'm more fascinated by these folks than even the athletes themselves.
Yeah, because they're very good at what they do. They articulate well, they prepare themselves, they know how to hold a conversation and get things going. They've had incredible experiences meeting so many different people within the business that they've got stories to share. Not taking anything away from having great athletes on our show, because we love talking about their experiences as well. But having people like Craig Can or Gary Williams on, or even veteran golfers, we've had Len Matisse and Ian Leggett, who've actually played rounds with Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer, and those stories get to be told as well. So having these fascinating guests is incredible. We talked before we went on the air, Tucker, that it's therapeutic to do a podcast, and I would highly suggest for anybody who feels like they've been locked down where they don't have anyone to speak to, this is a great way to get your voice out, talk about issues and topics that you like talking about. You could start off with just having some friends on, and it's a wonderful way to not only pass the time, but do something great, because you're going to find a higher purpose when you do a podcast.
I agree, and I think it's one of the things that kept me the most stable during the shutdown was having this large network of people that I was interacting with, even if it was just by phone or Zoom or whatnot. But also, I think everybody that went through the motions we all went through during the shutdown it reminded me why it's so important to pick up the phone and call people and reach out. And I used to take a ton of flack for it. All these people were like, old man, always calling everyone on the phone. All we want to do is text and all this. And I'm just a firm believer. If you care about people at all, give them a call. Don't wait. You never know. Gosh, COVID put everybody on edge for all the reasons it put us on edge. But, nothing's guaranteed, folks, and it really was therapeutic to have the pod during the shutdown and to have the book to write, because I didn't tell that part of it. The book I wrote about my life started during the shutdown when I was officially going nuck and futz like everybody else. I mean, I was distraught, guys. I was 8 weeks into that thing and crying myself to sleep every night. I mean, it was bad. And yeah, it was bad, and my wife basically, bless her heart, said, I've been doing a lot of praying about it, and it seems like you need to go. We're not kicking you out, but go have a spirit journey, get your shit together, write that book you always wanted to write. And what's interesting was in a 2-week span, I drove all the way from LA to Portland, Oregon, my birthplace. And while I was going, I started writing, and I got home and I had about 60 pages done. And it gave me an anchor for the next 2 years. It gave me something to do when I didn't have work. And it gave me a way to hash through a lot of my stuff in real time. and get a grip. So yeah, really grateful that I've had the book during the shutdown as well. But yeah, the pod too.
Yeah, as tough as that shutdown was for all of us on different levels, it forced a lot of people to try something new. As you've done, you may not have got that book, started for that matter, if the shutdowns hadn't happened. As much as
I almost surely wouldn't have. I almost
yeah,
surely would not.
yeah, no, 100%. And like Raph talking about the pod, and Tucker, you have one too. I'm used to being behind the scenes, as the DJ or event producer, or whatnot, in my life, and it was a little different to be like, okay, you know what? Here's a camera, a microphone, and start talking. So it's definitely a little bit nervous in the beginning, but you get used to it, you get comfortable. We've been really fortunate by having fantastic guests, interesting stories, and being able to interact with people from the Golf Channel and athletes and entertainers like yourself, where this really wasn't a thought a year and a half ago. So yeah, it's been a blessing. And by the way, sorry for the technical
Welcome
difficulties
back.
there. That's the first time in 31 episodes that we've had a glitch out like that, and I could see it coming because my screen was about 15 seconds off here, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good.
I think we caught the audio. Yeah, it happens. We talked about some of the issues when you went off about how that happens. Just to go back to what you were saying about your book, I think it's fascinating. I think everyone has a story to tell. Writing is very therapeutic as well. So whether you keep a journal or write your thoughts down, but everybody should, go on that journey and write your book, write a short story, write something down, even if you don't get it published, because it's a great thing. I was listening to a guy named Arthur Pawlowski, who's in Calgary, who was imprisoned for being a pastor and speaking out and helping the public during COVID. And, it's a touchy topic out here in Canada. We've got a lot of things going on. And he used to always preach and talk about the fact that people told him he should write his life story, to write everything. He said, I don't have time. I would have to be imprisoned to write a book. And so be careful what you wish for. He went to prison. He's coming out with his book right now. But to what you were saying, it's great to write. It's great to get your thoughts out. Send us a copy when you get a chance so we can talk about it.
Absolutely, I'm ready to start sharing this. So soon. That's something I am willing to touch on, even if it is touchy for everybody else. But I've become more outspoken about being religious. I used to shy away from the topic because I always felt alienated, especially nowadays when the public sentiment towards organized religion has changed. But I swear on my honor that it's the only thing that's kept me alive for many years, and it's saved my life in a variety of ways. So I am a proud Christian, and I believe. And I guess I'm not one of these people that thinks everybody else has to think like me or live like me. My politics, I don't have a side. I despise all the political fighting and whatever. But if I'm anything, I'm a fierce individualist, and I believe everybody else should be too. I don't want to tell you how to think and live, and I don't want you to tell me how to think and live. But I can tell you, man, faith, and not just faith, but kind of the practice, if you will, of practical Christianity has been one of the things that's the thing that's saved my life and introduced me to my wife, and the reason I got a kid, and the reason I didn't kill myself 15 years ago. So for what it's worth, anybody that's listening out there, you want to talk more to me about that, my phone's always on. I never sleep, and I'm happy to share.
Yeah, that'll be new #phone Tucker Booth.
Call me 675-309.
It takes a lot of courage to talk about that. Obviously, I'm a Christian too, so it doesn't come up, but if somebody brings it up, great. We've all lived different lives, and I feel like a lot of people put Christians in a box. That they think a certain way. But it sounds like you're not judgmental and you're open-minded, and that comes from a creative background. I think for myself, I worked in film and television for the last 20 years as well, and that has really pigeonholed me, put me in a position where when I started working in faith and family television and films, and I put a festival together I traveled in the United States promoting my film that I produced, wrote, called Adam's Testament, and directed. It's a faith-based supernatural drama, and it deals with real issues, family issues, and addiction. So check it out. I've never even promoted that, Mike. It's weird that we're bringing this up because we're usually full-on golf show. So now we're getting into faith and politics, so two things we try to stay away from mostly in broadcasting, right? Because they're
Well, no,
touchy.
you're right, because that's the joke, isn't it? It's like the fastest way to get people fighting at the dinner table was to bring up one of those topics or whatever.
100%.
Hey, we're going to start getting a lot of comments, Mike.
But you know something, something, folks, and again, I say this for real. My genuine belief is that I only know what's best for me, and I don't even always know what's best for me, but I only know what's best for me. I wouldn't want to put it on anybody else how to think, or how to line up politically or morally or ethically or whatever. I don't really think that's the point. But I do think if you are indeed a proud Christian, it is your job to love and tolerate everyone. And so anytime that Christians don't do that, they put a really bad stain on the principles that are being espoused there. And so, if you call yourself a Christian, and boy, I sure need to take this advice to heart too, you got to be loving and tolerant. You got to be a decent person. You got to, give love where hate seems to be coming at you. And
we're not perfect. We're going to mess up. We're not going to keep that going. I mean, this is it comes right back at you once you mess up. But we're human. We're not perfect. We're always going to mess up. We can't always practice what we preach, right? And and it also depends on your calling. To me, I don't feel like it's up to me to preach. I'm not here to talk about my faith. If it comes up, if somebody asks me a question, I'm not afraid to talk about it. But it's not my calling to be preaching about my faith, right?
Yeah, no, and one last run at it. I'll just say, that's really, really wise. But it's funny. I was just having a conversation with another friend of mine, Garrett Johnston, who's a great writer, a golf writer, works for Scott Van Pelt Show. Just really decent dude. And we were talking, and I said, I have this desire to get more outspoken about it on the pod, and I've really been afraid to do that because I feel like I'm going to polarize my audience, and the non-believers don't want to hear it. Mike Whalen's an atheist. I got people that don't want to hear this stuff. I said, but part of me feels like it's like a higher calling kind of thing. And I said, I don't want to sound like I'm really important either, but I do have a platform and people do listen to me and they do want to hear my thoughts. And I said, I'm feeling like I'm about ready to just be brave and just jump headfirst in and not look back. And he said, well, if you do, you are dividing the wheat from the chaff there, I guess. But,
you're also risking being canceled, right? We live in a society where freedom isn't what it used to be, right? Freedom of speech is monitored, right? Freedom of speech doesn't mean you could say anything you want, and unfortunately, talking about your faith constitutes as one of those things that might just cancel you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's probably the one thing I can brag about is I believe I am uncancelable, and that's because I've never ever sold out. Never sold out. People are like, why don't you have any sponsors, Tuck? Well, because I don't want them telling me what to say and do. Why didn't you ever work for Golf Channel? Well, I wouldn't want to work there. Well, why not? Because I already know what it's all about. No, I don't want to work in that environment. So it's like they've tried to cancel me, boys, for 20 plus years. Everybody has tried to cancel me. Battle rappers, rivals, the cops. Everybody battles the champ. They all do. In fact, that's my next book that I'm just outlining right now. It's called Battles, about all the battles I've been through in my life. And once you can't be knocked out, and I mean that, I know I cannot be knocked out in a battle or a fight. You kind of just got to dig in, and you can weather the storm. And so and like I said to begin with, if you're not a believer and you're listening to me right now, bless you. Seriously, who says I got all the answers? I'll just know what's best for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, myself, like my family wasn't very religious. It wasn't something we were, forced to go through as a kid. But I absolutely believe that everyone has the choice, and if that's what whatever religion that may be, totally go for it. As long as you're not hurting others. really with it, right? And that's what our free society is meant to be: is live how you want to live, believe what you want to believe in, and be faithful with however you want to be. And once it turns into violence and yada yada, then things are that's not what it's about. So one thing I really, hopefully you didn't dive into this when I was getting my technical difficulties figured out, was your run for president, right? Because it's
Oh
just
no, we didn't get into that. Great, I'm glad you brought it back.
well, let me lead into it a little further, because I think it was 2008 or 2012, and the Republican race, a kid by the name of D's Nuts was trending.
That's right.
And it was on the news. I'm like,
That's
oh my
right. I
God,
remember that.
this is satire. Some guy's having a laugh right now, but he was like fourth or fifth or sixth in the race.
Popular vote.
Right. But yeah, like, tell us when you did that. Let's just let's have some fun. And how did you lead up to making a run?
Well, okay, so I guess this goes all the way back to college again, but I was doing comedy and I was doing music and hip hop. And somewhere in there, I came up with the hook, Tucker Booth for president. And I just kept beating that hook up. It just kept coming back around. And everybody said I kind of had a presidential vibe. And, I looked like a young John Kennedy and all this stuff. So I totally leaned into that as satire. Never really intended to run for president, but put out campaign posters. And, my album came out called Tucker Booth for President, which is from '04. And then we followed that up in '08 with the res election of the president, the res election. And then in 2016, we even did one called Lame Duck, which was kind of the final part of the trilogy, if you will. But starting in 2004, I was actively telling people, if you don't like these choices, please write my name in for president. And boys, in '04, '08, '12, and '16, I've had votes that people have photos of in the voting booth writing my name in for president. I think the 16, I got 5 or 6 votes.
Yeah.
So I literally have been voted for president of the United States, and kind of like D's Nuts. I think I'm about as qualified as D's Nuts, but how crazy that people would actually take the time to go in and do that because they really didn't like the other options. And that was kind of where I was coming from, with playful satire, is just, look, these aren't good options, guys. It's like vote for AIDS or cancer. Which one do you want? Nobody wants these choices. We got to think outside the box. And so maybe that is my political message, is this whole being railroaded into choice A or choice B, because that's the way it's always been. That's horseshit. We can change that. We can do better in this society.
No, we agree. Especially I would love to just insert a whole new cast of characters, pull them all out, drop in new people, and let's start fresh. No more Trumps, Clintons, Bushes. If you have that name, you're not allowed in. Up here, we have different names, that we kick around. No more Trudeaus. It would just be great just to change the playing field, if you will, because maybe the system's fine without these sort of, corrupt, actors being involved in the system, who are portraying that they know the best way and whatnot, but really seems like they're all on the take. But that's my thoughts. It's just I'd love to see new, fresh faces.
I agree, and I think this is going to sound like just rah talk, but it takes young people caring enough to get involved in their local communities and in local politics. And that's where I always go with people when they argue with me about not voting, because I haven't voted in 12 years. Everyone always wants to give me crap about it. How can you complain? How can you criticize when you're not even doing what you know you should do? And I go, no, it's a vote of no confidence is what I'm doing right now. I said, but I think, how can I help? I'm involved in my community. I volunteer. I'm a coach for Little League. I'm a teacher. I find ways to impact my community and try and inspire the next generation of these kids my son's age and et cetera to care enough to get involved. My son's running for student government, and he wants to be president too, and I think that's what it takes. It takes a whole new generation of decent people that are doing it for the right reason to get involved and start changing it from the ground up, because it's the only way it's ever going to change.
Well, it takes a lot of money and power sometimes to make that change. And looking at Elon Musk and what he's doing by buying Twitter and getting a little bit more freedom out there, because he's more down the middle. He doesn't really want to make anything too far left or too far right. So it's nice to see. So we might see Peter Kessler back on Twitter sometime soon. And
Actually, I tweeted it
go
about
ahead.
it. I said, "Are you finally going to let Peter out of Twitmo?" That's what we call it.
Yeah, I might have seen that. I might have seen that.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at some of the things that happen. Your opinion, Chris Vernon's gone viral with what's going on at Augusta, right?
Love it.
Everybody's reposting that. It's really fun to watch and listen to. It's original. What your thoughts? Your bit of your background, right? And him to come up with that.
Tuck Booth in there, that's for sure. And Chris, if you're out there, I think it's very funny. I love what you're doing. But I see shades of it in there. Yeah. Any way that you can make golf less stuffy, and that's the bad impression of golf, right? Is it's all these old rich white guys in their exclusive clubs. Yeah. And if you want to attract new blood, which I kind of wonder sometimes how much golf really does, but if that is indeed the rhetoric about grow the game, you got to find ways to get the entertainment crossover there. Yeah. And so whether it's just hip bands that even what's his name, Darius Rucker, attaching his name to golf the way he does. How many new people and fans of his music are coming around to golf, or Kid Rock, or I don't know, name whichever, maybe Kid Rock.
Mike Flasky Entertainment right now is doing a really good job with the Champions Tour at LPGA. He's bringing entertainment to the golf course. They have so much space available, so they want to make it more interactive, where people could see entertainers on stage, be it before, during, or after the event. So reach out to Mike Flasky or Tiger Jam to get yourself out there. You might be able to perform.
I'd love to go play some guitar and rap for him too. I'd give him the whole show. It'd be awesome. Sounds like a lot of fun.
I would love to see some new forms, and Raph and I have talked about this a lot, and what we could do as we grow the pod, maybe to get involved, to bring some of our event production in, and we got some great ideas. We'll see if we can make it go anywhere. But golf has always been known to be for old white curmudgeons, and if you come up here and golf in Vancouver, you'll see that it's not. Even the private clubs, yes, some of the people are quite wealthy there, but it's not all white people. It's a very mixed game up here, and globally, it's massive in Korea, Japan. But at the end of the day, if we don't cater to the younger demographics and get them into golf as children, we're going to be in trouble with this sport in years. And I truly believe Tiger has contributed to a lot of the growth of the game. As you see, look at some of these young kids that are coming up and on the LPGA and PGA Corn Ferry tours. These are the effects of Tiger making the game cool in his time. And I think we'll see a lot of growth from there, but it's important to bring in some kind of exterior entertainment value that makes it fun on and off the course. And like the Live Golf venture by Greg Norman. Well, he's trying to make it fun. I mean, it's going to be interesting for us to watch how this manifests and see if he can, pull off a captivating experience. Or it could be a big flop, but he's throwing around such a pile of money that it's going to attract some people there.
Or is it a can of worms?
Yeah. Well, I'm just realizing what time we got here, boys.
We're running on 58 minutes. We're just about to wrap up.
I'm happy to chat for a little bit longer, but I got to send a quick text to my friend. I forgot.
Go for it.
I'm running late to a tennis match. Hold on one second.
Sure.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Look, Mike.
I'm in there at the court going, where the hell is this guy? Oh, damn, he is here. Oh, Lord.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up here, but for those of you who don't know Tucker Booth, give us another I want you to have another opportunity to tell us where we could listen to you, where we could get your new book, and how people could get in touch with you.
Sure. Well, like I said, I'm only on Twitter now. I got off all the other networks. So if you want to get at me, Tucker Dale Booth on Twitter, or just type in Tucker Booth. I'm the one that pops up. If you'd like to check out any of the stuff I've been working on writing wise, including my book, like I said, I'm taking pre-orders now and sending the PDF. that you can get at me directly, tuckerbooth@hotmail.com. You can DM me on my Twitter page. I'll try and leave the DM box open to everybody. Those are probably the best ways. And then be on the lookout, beyond just podcast, always new stuff coming out here, there, and everywhere. Very excited about Lisa's book, Troublemaker, which hopefully will be out by International Women's Month.
Great.
And yeah. Oh, and last, I got to give a shout out to my friend Hamish Wright. Hamish played golf with Tiger and was actually Kevin Costner's personal assistant for a long time, taught him how to golf.
Wow.
Hamish would be a great guest for you guys. I'd love to put you in touch.
Sure, we'd love it.
Currently been producing his own show that he got bankrolled by some investor friends called The Real Fake Show. It's awesome. Think like Monty Python meets Johnny Carson or something. It's wonderful. It's all improv comedy. I've been on it as an actor. I'm helping him write for it now and produce. And it's looking good. Like we may very well get this one off the ground with a distribution deal pretty soon as well. But you can already check that out online. The Real Fake Show. I know it's on Vimeo, a few other places.
Okay.
I'd love to put you in touch with Hamish.
Yeah, we'd love to have him. And Tucker, we'd love to have you back sometime. There's a lot of things we didn't get into, but maybe later in the year, if you got some time, you'd like to come back and wrap with us again.
Anytime, boys. I really enjoyed this. Anytime.
Yeah, fantastic.
Mike, stick around. We're going to just wrap things up. Thanks again, Tucker. Keep on doing what you're doing. I'm looking forward to your book.
To go take some flack from my friend in tennis.
You got it. All right.
Go win some money. Okay, take care, Tucker.
Cheers.
Bye.
All right.
So, yeah, that was a great guest. Anyone who's listening now, the show is live on YouTube at the moment. It will be up on all the podcast platforms tomorrow, 17 of them, including Spotify, Stitcher, the Apple Podcast Store, on Google, you name it, it's there. Wherever you get your podcasts, Deezer. So check it out.
Hey, Mike, I just wanted to talk about the fact we were joking when you were off about getting Kessler and Whalen on at the same time so the four of us could do a cast. It'd be hilarious. And we'd be able to get a lot of fun stories in and kind of get all the water under the bridge, as they say.
Yeah. That would be an amazing cast, actually. So let's see if we can make that happen. Even Kessler on his own would love to hear, what he's been up to and tap into his side of the stories that are going around.
Oh, absolutely. Look, you made a really good point about making golf accessible. I just want to talk about the fact that if you're just watching this and you missed Tucker Booth, we talked about a lot of things, a lot of different topics that I didn't expect to talk about. So check out our podcast. We're available on a lot of different platforms. Be it Spotify, iHeartRadio, we're on YouTube, and places like Apple Podcasts as well. Mike, tell me a bit about some of the courses out in Vancouver. Some of your favorite places to play. There's different types of golf courses. There's public, private, semi-private, and resort. And then there's different levels for each one of those. There's low end and mid to high end in each one of those categories. What are some of the places around where you are?
Well, there's we have all of those categories. We'll start with a couple favorites. Kings Links Golf Club out by Boundary Shores. It is unbelievable. It's right on the ocean. It's literally like being dropped into Scotland. They've done a great job there. Plays well all year round. They are, I believe, semi-private. They were considering going private during COVID because of the craziness with golf. But yeah, definitely a must play. I'm a member at Mayfair Lakes, which is a great facility. Fantastic conditions all year round. Must play as well. And I'll give Northview Golf Club a shout out. Used to be the home of the Greater Vancouver Open / Air Canada Championship, where Mike Weir got his first win. Payne Stewart used to play there. Golf Channel's announcer Brandel Chambly had his only win there. It's a solid facility. And I've been lucky enough. I've been living here long enough. So I've played all the private courses by invite. Shaughnessy, killer facility, unbelievable conditions. The greens are like putting on pool tables, and the rough is thick. It is a very tricky golf course. Great experience. In the city, there's not a lot of resort courses, but if you go up a short drive to Whistler, you've got Nicholas North, a great golf course. Not so much a resort course, in my opinion, but it's a great track. You have Chateau Whistler, which I will definitely brand that as a resort course. It's in my opinion, a bit gimmicky. Play 9 holes straight uphill, 9 holes straight downhill. I find it's peculiar, but it's still good quality golf. I'm going to touch on the affordability side of golf because that's a big discussion.
Yeah.
People avoid it because they could call it. It says people think it's expensive. There's no doubt about it, and it can be, but golf can be more reachable to most because you can buy used equipment that's still really good. There's courses like Burnaby Mountain, Delta Golf Course. There's another one I'm trying to think of off the tip of my tongue. I'm not pulling it, but there's golf courses where your green fee is $45-$50 and you look at it over 4 or 5 hours. Or would you pay $10 an hour to participate in something you're really passionate about? Yes, you would. So golf can be accessible to a lot of people. There's programs out there for children that get clubs in their hands for cheap or free. You just got to do a little homework, talk to your local CPGA pro, and find out how you can get involved in the game because it's not a rich white man sport anymore.
Yeah, of
It's
course
really
not.
open
No,
for everybody.
yeah, I agree with you, Mike. Look, there's lots of places people could even learn how to play. This is the only game. I think it's the only game on the planet where it's as accessible as golf is. Now, you can go to a driving range which doesn't even have a golf course. You could just learn how to hit balls, learn about the game, but the best thing to do is what you said. Go see a teacher, go see an instructor, a coach, somebody certified in some shape or form, or a top amateur golfer who could get you started. I'm a golf coach and instructor. You can come and see me. I'm in Oakville. I'm at Vic Hatfield's Golf and Learning Center, and that's a practice facility. There's 3 chipping putting areas. There's 120 hitting stations. We do video analysis. So it's a lot of fun doing something like that. Or you could get started on a par 3 golf course. What's a par 3 golf course? Well, it's a course that has holes that are much shorter than championship length holes. Par for the course is much shorter. So the distance between the tee box and the green or the putting surface is anywhere between 100 and 150 yards. Mike, you and I played lots out in Vancouver. We played in Stanley Park, Queenie Park when I lived in Vancouver. Out my way, I take my son out to a place in Mississauga called Braeben. They have an 18-hole championship course, but in the back they have something called an academy course. None of the holes are longer than 160 yards, and you could get around in an hour and a half, and it's really well maintained. And you talked about courses. I'm just going to mention 2 courses that I enjoy playing here. You may have heard of Glen Abbey. That's in Oakville, Ontario. It's Jack Nicklaus's first design, and it's a beautiful golf course. The Canadian Open happens there very often, at least once every 5 years. So you have a chance. It is a public golf course. It's a little pricey, but you could find some good tee times and twilight rates. And one of my favorite courses to go to now is where there's a Canadian Tour stop. And that is TPC Toronto. 3 golf courses.
Very good facility.
There's a Parkland course, there's a Link style course, and there's a mixed course.
Heathlands.
The Heathlands, Hoot, and I love those courses. I go there often. I go there with my son. But to your point, it's accessible. You just need to pick up the phone and call somebody at the facility and get you started.
Golf is actually accessible. Like the par 3 courses, you can play pitch and putt here for $15 for 18 holes on a short par 3. and get it done, under 2 hours, providing there's no lineups. And yeah, you can get your experience there. Golf doesn't have to be $200 a round, but when you do go and experience a golf club that you have to shell out some serious money for like a resort course, do yourself a favor, go there early, enjoy the whole day there. Go like you can play, say, let's say TPC Scottsdale in Phoenix, just in Arizona. Yes, it's a couple $100 to play US, so that's even harder for Canadians. But you can use a pro's locker. You can go pick VJs, you name the pro. They have all their names in the locker downstairs. You can use the steam room. You can use the whole facility for the day. Your green fee gets you admission for the entire day. They have world-class practice facilities. They have great food. So you go there early, you soak it all up, get every dollar. Don't show up there 5 or 10 minutes before your tee time running around, aimlessly trying to figure out what the hell you're going to do. Go there 3 hours early, have a little breakfast, just soak it all in. Yes, it's expensive, so make every moment count.
No, yeah, that's a great point. So from $15 to spending $350 for the day, there are different options on playing golf, and whether you want to spend a half an hour just hitting balls on the range, or a full day at a resort style golf course where you could go with the family, because there's multiple sports or activities at resorts, at resort style clubs where your wife could go to the spa, your kids could go to the pool, you could go play golf. They've got food there, and so you can make it a full weekend going to a resort and staying there. Or you could just go to your local driving range, get some rental clubs and hit some balls and then get a feel of what golf is about, right?
Yeah, before the pandemic lockdowns kicked in March 2020, my wife and I went down to JW Marriott Resort in Palm Springs. We're lucky enough to do that. It was a Nick Faldo golf course. The range was designed by Nick Faldo. The short game area was unbelievable. You could work on any wedge shot. They had a semicircle range for wedges, from 10-yard pins all the way up to 100, and then a full range. The short game area is free. So you can take your kids there. You can go down yourself and just work on your game, enjoy the practice. And that part's free. A basket of balls is $10, $5 to $10 or $15, depending on where you are in the world. And just take your time with it, absorb it all, and learn to enjoy the practice. It always doesn't have to be on the course. There's a lot of therapeutic reasons. We talked about mental health earlier on the show with Tucker. Learn how to disconnect from the world, throw your headphones on, and practice. Get to know your wedges and your putter. Because it's a great way to improve your game.
I know that's your spiritual getaway, right? You talk about how you find peace of mind by just losing yourself in practicing or being on the golf course. There's something to be said about being in solitude and playing golf, because it could be an extremely social game where you're out with some buddies, or you're out during a corporate golf tournament, or you're out on a driving range hitting balls with a bunch of people trying to do trick shots and having fun, or just goofing around. Or you could be alone, for a few hours hitting a golf ball and walking. There's something to be said about that solitude on a golf course. You find something, and what that is, it's hard to explain, right?
For me, I got some headphones, larger ones, so people can see that I have them on, especially when I'm at my home club. And that's it. Some good music. For me, it's either house music or it's hip hop. It's one or the other. And that's it. I can spend a couple hours easily on the short game area and on the putting green and just goof around. Definitely have some thought to your practice. So you're having effective practice, but this is your chance to goof around, stick your ball in deep bird's nests of a lie. Try the weird things that you might experience on the course, put them into play on the practice area, And that way, when you go out onto the golf course, you are better prepared for the adversity that we're going to face, because that little ball lands in all kinds of crazy places, and you can't kick it out. You got to use your clubs to move the ball. So, and this, especially you get into a tournament, even if it's a scramble. Mostly you're playing best ball, but if it's not a best ball tournament, you got to play your own ball, and the nerves are building up, and you've got to make everything. When you put that practice in, you're going to feel a little more confident when you face a tricky situation on the golf course.
Mike, we're going to wrap this up. We always want to end off with something funny because we go like this. This podcast was unique in the fact that we talked about mental health, our faith, golf, the entertainment business. It's gone to places that we usually don't talk about. Some places, sometimes it's uncomfortable to talk about certain stuff, but we're going to try to stick with golf as our our through line. What's your most memorable or funny moment watching professional golf? For me, it would have to be Woody Austin falling in the water on the blue course during the.
I was there. I was right by that water hazard when he fell in.
So he went face first into the water trying to hit a shot. So anybody could kind of go on YouTube and put in Woody Austin Aquaman, and you will get the video. That's one of my funniest. And the reason why I remember it so well, obviously, I was there as well. And I used to be assistant professional at Royal Montreal Golf Club, so it brings back a lot of memories. I've hit my ball in that water plenty of times. One memorable time was actually hitting the pin on my second shot when I went out with a member and another professional at that golf course on that same hole. But what is one of your funny things that you remember from professional golf? Is it Woody Austin bending his club over his head?
That's definitely a good one. I remember watching that years ago. Whacks himself in the head with the putter and bends it. Amazing that he's able to finish his round and not knock himself out. I'm trying to think of something here. What I did enjoy the 2015 U.S. Open at Chambers Bay. I was lucky enough to get down there. And what I thought was entertaining was the gallery as they reacted to Ricky Fowler. He's dressed like a popsicle and all orange and kind of looked a little ridiculous. But the comments out of the gallery were pretty funny. Some of them were mocking the latest commercial. I think it was a PGA Superstore commercial. But he tends to get a lot of random commentary from the gallery. I thought that was quite entertaining. Trying to think of something funny. I mean, John Daly. This isn't funny, but John Daly out at the Air Canada Championship. Had the shakes, and it's definitely not funny. But what was amazing is he was able to hit the ball so crisp and pure. Despite really. Physically not being able to cope. Like, he was wearing a jacket in the middle of summer. I felt for him, but man, he, like a professional, got up there and hit every shot, and way better than any amateur could. So, kudos to him.
Lots and lots of moments out there to remember. Look, we're going to wrap this up, Mike. We're at 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 26 seconds. If you didn't catch the beginning of the podcast, we had Tucker Booth on, who's a writer, rapper, entertainer, who has a lot of golf contacts and is fun to listen to. Make sure you look him up on Twitter. Any final thoughts?
Well, again, we are on all the podcast platforms as of tomorrow. You'll be able to catch this episode today immediately off of our social media channels. It'll be posted shortly. It's up on YouTube permanently at the moment. If you're still watching, thank you. You are seriously the best. Throw your name in the comments and we'll send you something. But yeah, that's, thanks for Tucker for being out. We look forward to having him back. We've got Alan Shipnuck coming up later in the month, and a host of other great guests. So yeah, stay tuned. Please like us, share us, subscribe to us. Every single one of those engagements is greatly appreciated.
And we've got some giveaways coming up, like Michael mentioned. Alan Shipnuck with the unofficial autobiography of Phil Mickelson. Where is he going to be? Where is he going to show up? Only time will tell. For Tucker Booth, Michael Bleakley, I'm Raphael Calmat. You've been listening to the Golf Podcast Live. Remember, our sponsors, ECS, Evolve Creative Solutions, for all your web needs, Drink Well, and Upper Hand cards and collectibles. Until next week, just remember, if you're in the first cut and you're off the green, chip it, don't putt it.